Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 release Mind, Body, Spirit. It's a found footage film, I'm going to tell you right off the bat. And it's interesting because as a person who doesn't really like found footage, I end up watching a decent amount of found footage films. I think it's just because I want to give things a try, you know? Even though that's not my favorite horror subgenre, there could be a good one out there for me, and there have been along the way. This one, feeling kind of middling on. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. I would not recommend it. I'm smack dab in the middle. I'm just going to tell you right now. But I'll talk about why. This film, directed by Alex Henes and Matthew Merenda. This is both these individuals' first feature film, which I will say, for a first feature film, pretty good job in my opinion. I mean, they're, you know, usually your first is going to be your roughest. So to start at this point for a first, pretty good actually. Written by Henes, Merenda, and Topher Hendricks. Also, don't have any other script credits, at least not for feature-length films. Was a Fandango at home rental for me, $6.35. So yeah, kind of funny story about that. So I rent it and I'm watching it, and there are literally moments, because it has to do with like a content creator in it. There are literally moments where it was saying that like an ad was loading, and that was in the movie, but I was thinking that it was through Fandango at home, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I rented this. I shouldn't be getting ads. And then I realized, oh, it's in the film. So I thought that was kind of funny. So they did a good job of making that look realistic, because I was just like, what's going on? So, quick synopsis about this one. It's about the main character who has moved into her grandmother's old place because her grandmother has passed away. She's trying to find herself. She's trying to figure out who she wants to be. She starts doing what I assume is a YouTube channel, but they don't give it that name. She starts doing basically a YouTube channel that is like yoga workouts. And she's trying to see if she can become successful with that. She's obviously dealing with some stress as far as that goes, trying to figure out who she is, which is causing stress. And also she has stress with her relationship with her mother, which you get a good amount there. Then she ends up finding something interesting in the house that kind of leads her down a certain path, and it's a horror film. And it's a found footage horror film. So, you know, you can probably guess some of the things that end up going on with this, because some of the things are very on the nose, very on brand for found footage horror films, especially with a story setup like this. So that's one of my issues with the film, is that it felt very formulaic in a sense. I've seen this all before, and it didn't have enough of its own kind of unique flavor. I mean, the original premise, yes, but then what happens throughout the film, it's kind of like, I've seen a lot of this before. It's very, very well-trodden territory, unfortunately. The main character is established pretty well early on, and for what she does, her personality really fits. I think they did a great job, not just from a writing standpoint for that character, but from an acting standpoint for the actor who portrayed that individual. That they did a good job of being like, this is who this person is, or at least who they are claiming to be when they're doing their content videos. Very much feeling like that motivational yoga instructor, very calming as well. So I think they kind of hit that pretty well. And then also having her have kind of a different personality when she's away from the recording, which I think was important for this. I do quite like the shooting location and the set design. It actually creates pretty good atmosphere. Now, when I say the set design, it's only for certain portions of the house that they shoot in. It's a one location movie. So, obviously you can tell it's like super low budget, maybe no budget, independent film, which we got to support those. But it's, set design was really, really cool with one aspect of the film in particular. And if you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. This has a tongue-in-cheek way that it ends up dealing with content creators. That's become a definite thing when content creators are being put in these lower budget horror films. They're usually kind of like winking at the audience, being like, aren't these people kind of ridiculous? Don't they act super fake when they're on their videos and like over the top? Yeah. Do I? Some people will probably think so. But I find that funny. I also find it kind of endearing at the same time because we all kind of have those thoughts about content creators we end up seeing online. The acting in this ranges from pretty good to a little bit rough, unfortunately. So it's kind of all over the place in a sense. But I think the woman who is the main character is the most solid, which obviously that's what you want because if she's going to be on the screen the majority of the time, you want her to be able to really carry that. And I think she does a pretty good job with it. As expected, small things happen here and there to let you know that things are off with the story. There's something spooky about. But like I said, it's a lot of well trodden territory. I didn't think they did too much that was all that unique or interesting when it comes to that. I think there's two things I can think of that they did, two particular scenes that I was like, okay, those are actually kind of cool. They did involve some gore, which the gore is not copious, but I think they did a pretty good job with the gore, honestly. I just think maybe they should have gone down that road a little bit more and less doing some of the other kind of lighter stuff that just seemed overdone. Character interactions don't always feel right, unfortunately. Now, that ends up being a product of two things. Some of the dialogue was not the best. The other thing is when you have some of those people that weren't the strongest of actors interacting with someone else, the chemistry just feels very off. So, yeah, unfortunately, some of that going on. The pacing is okay, but the actual payoff moments just never rise to that satisfying level. You know, a lot of these found footage films end up being a little bit slower. So I think for an actual found footage film, I think it's pretty good pacing for that style. But overall, it's just an okay pacing. So you're always looking for like those moments, which I've been saying, or a lot of them were like the well trodden ground, unfortunately. And they just like when they happen, they just don't feel super satisfying. So you're just kind of like, oh, okay. And you're looking for those kind of intervals to kind of give you like a charge to like get you more excited to look forward to the next one. And I felt like this film didn't really do all that great of a job of doing that. This is an interesting thing that occurred to me during the movie, and I don't think this is really the fault of anyone. It's just something that happened. The yoga speak does get annoying and runs counter to the feeling you want from a horror film. It kind of screws up the atmosphere. It screws up the feeling of the movie. Now, again, I don't think this is anyone's fault because I was thinking about it personally and like if I'm writing the script or I'm going to be the director for this or I'm even going to act in this, I don't see that coming. Like I wouldn't think that having someone doing yoga and like talking like a yoga instructor would actually run counter to the atmosphere in a horror film, but it does. So it's just kind of this weird thing that also kind of messes up the experience of the film for me personally. But again, like not really anyone's fault. It just kind of it happened. And the ending is all right. I didn't hate the ending. I didn't love the ending. Pretty in between on it. It was okay for what it is. This film does play heavily on familial issues and feels somewhat inspired by I'm not going to say the name of it right now, but a very popular other horror film, which was a much bigger budget that has familial themes to it. And if you watch it, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll be like, oh yeah. It's not like it's super heavy modeled after that, but you can see bits and pieces where you're just like, oh, okay. And actually, interestingly enough, this kind of reminds me of my own family a little bit. And kind of some things that my mother found when my grandmother passed away from ancestors. So if you want to talk about that, you can ask me in the comments. I don't expect anyone to want to, but some really interesting, weird things that, could spin off into a horror film, honestly. That's what this film kind of reminded me of. But it's not, like I said, I'm pretty much in the middle on this one. It's not bad. It's not great. I'm going to give it an overall 2.5 out of 5-star rating. Hopefully there are a lot of people who like it even more because, like I said, it's very important to support low-budget independent horror films because, hey, these people are passionate. They're doing great work, and they don't get a lot of support, unfortunately. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Mind, Body, Spirit. Go ahead and put in the comments your thoughts if you've seen the film, or if you go and watch it and you want to come back, you can do that too. do me a favor and hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. You can hit the thumbs up on this video and all my videos if you want to help me with that YouTube algorithm, and hit the notification bell button, because that way you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, always, I thank you so much for taking your time to watch this. And until next time, keep it brutal.